Hello, and welcome to the Courage Coalition. This is the fourth pod on our four-part series on the framework of our money stories and why and how things begin to happen in the first place, but also change. So, we're going to talk a lot about integration today and how we can align our beliefs and our values and our evidence to tell a different story. There's a powerful saying out there that says the body keeps the score. And I want to say, when I think of body, I think of mind, right? The mind keeps the score. And that comes back down to those beliefs and those values and that evidence, right? But what if you showed up today and said, I'm going to play a different game? I'm not playing that game anymore. Is it time to tell a different story? Is it time to play a different game? Because my assumption is it probably is. Otherwise, this series wouldn't have been something you wanted to hear and listen to. So, where do our beliefs meet our behaviors? So, when you go back and you think about things like maybe you didn't have enough or you never felt like there was enough, that creates that scarcity behavior of always saving, never spending, always feeling that maybe wanting more is bad or spending more is bad, saving too much is bad. And I was like, how is that possible? Well, we can oversave because if we're not living life, we're oversaving. There has to be a balance between providing and having security, having knowledge and resources, and living life. This is living in our core values. If we only earn and save, I can guarantee your core values are being not addressed. So, when you know your values, you begin to see patterns about how you spend, how you save, how you earn. And you get to choose at that point if you want something to be different. Because it's not about them it having to be different. It's about them aligning with what you want in life right now. And that's going to change. So our budgets aren't something we pick and choose and just stick with for the rest of our life or even for the next decade, maybe even past a year. Maybe each year they're going to change. So when you've clear on those values, you've done a test or a flip chart and you've come up with some words and you've really pulled them apart and decided this is what's important to me and these are the reasons why, then I want you to begin to ask yourself, are my financial goals or the way I'm using my money being filtered through those values? So if I want to go and buy a new Ferrari, does that align with my 5 core values? If I want to, eat out every week for the next 4 weeks, am I going to be able to save in that core value? Because when we talk about integration, one of the things I want you to hear me say is that you're clear that your beliefs are affecting everything you're doing. Maybe you're started pulling apart those, and that's not going to be an overnight experience. That's going to be a long-term plan. But you started to understand that your beliefs maybe aren't serving you. And you've gotten very clear on your core values and you've gotten all your evidence collected. Now you need to integrate them into a new plan, a plan that serves these new beliefs, that aligns with those core values. And the evidence is how you're creating that plan. So that evidence comes down to creating the plan. And part of the plan is not only how you've earned it, but how you're going to pay yourself. And when I say pay yourself, what I mean is those core values. So you bring home a wage, or maybe you have a draw because you're a business owner, and we have to pay our bills, right? I get that. But you should also have a line item for each of your core values. Each of your core values deserve to have money, emotion, and value assigned to it. So on your spreadsheet, which is how I do it, if you want to do it on paper and pen or an app, it really comes down to what you will do is what you will always do. If I give you a tool and it's not comfortable for you and you're not going to use it, then it's pointless. For me, I love spreadsheets. There's the money girl in me, but it just makes it very clear to me. So the top section is always the income. How am I earning money? If you have multiple streams of income, there should be a line item for every stream of income, not just one lump. The next section is how you're spending your money. The very first 5 lines should be your core values. Now, you guys, this applies for businesses too. Our businesses have core values, or at least they should. And if they don't, then that's another task for you to do. Our core values of business are, maybe it's freedom of relationships, understanding that you get to choose the people you interact and do business with. Maybe it's freedom of time, not working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Maybe it's only working 15, 30, 20. Those are core values. That's that freedom of time, adventure, or freedom. That word freedom will come up in somebody's core values. So you have to ask those things to yourself too. Maybe it's security. What does security mean in our business? Well, maybe it's not just about what we're earning and how we can pay the bills, but what about always being compliant? So having a savings account that's just for the taxes due, whether that's your sales tax, your federal taxes, your state taxes, it doesn't matter. Having that clarity of knowing that there is money being put away every single month, hopefully based on your gross income. You should be taking a percentage of that and putting it in that savings account gives you freedom of not stressing come tax time. Maybe it's a payroll account. The foundation of our business is paying our employees or our independent contractors. If we are not clear that we have money set aside for them, then we really don't have a business. This is the systems. You've heard me say it, is that a business without systems is really just a hustle. It's truth, you guys. I don't say it to be rude. It's the truth. Our systems that are in place help us create and provide a business that actually has a foundation to build upon. So, do your values filter your financial goals and process? And then if it doesn't, what needs to change? You have to stop outsourcing your authority. You get to decide what wealth looks like for you. Your wealth does not depend or is not determined by any person in your family, including your spouse. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to work together with your spouse as a team, because I believe in that more than anything in the world. You know this about me if you've been listening for any amount of time. But what if your retirement goals don't look the same as your spouse's? Okay. Then do the way you save for retirement, is it the same? We get to choose something that aligns with us, even in a relationship. Now, I will say with a grain of salt, you really have to come into those conversations with compassion and no expectations. Because if you come into a conversation like that and say, well, it has to be this way because this is the way it's always done and this is what feels right to me, then you are not going to come out of that conversation with a good response. Our partners earn money too. And how they retire and how they spend their money is important too. Now, I'm not saying I'm sitting here accepting or condoning unaligned and or irresponsible spending or lack of saving. That's not what I'm saying. But here's a good example. One of my clients, they save money in 2 completely different ways. One saves money in a very traditional way for retirement. The other saves money or saves a product that they spend on in a completely different way for retirement, because they know that the value in that product has a monetary value and they feel very aligned with investing, saving, and growing that part of their retirement. That does not make it wrong. It actually makes it really beautiful that they have that knowledge about themselves and they know that investing money, let's say in a 401k, will probably put them over the moon and they won't want to earn money in the same way. Now, I'm not saying I agree or disagree because it's not for me. That's the key here. When we live aligned with our financial story, our financial narrative, we're living in a way that we can show up every day in our best. That means the best way that we earn money, the best way that we spend money, and the best way that we save money. So What is your evidence that you collected say about you? Where are you headed? Is the current trajectory something that is desired for your future? Is it going to meet the needs of what you want to do in the future? Because if not, it's just time to pivot. It's not right or wrong. One of the things that I believe is that we don't make mistakes. As long as we've learned something from it, right? If we spend money in a certain way and we take a look back and go, this is just not who I am, then that is a celebration. When you get an opportunity to learn anything about yourself, but especially in our money, what a way to celebrate. Why do we have to say, oh my gosh, that was such a big mistake? Now, if you're in bankruptcy number 3, probably need some help because maybe you're not learning anything and then they're not lessons. You don't need somebody else's permission to do it your way, but you do need a plan. That's what I will say for sure. Your financial health, your financial wealth is based on your life, your goals, your dreams, your values. But if you believe that no plan is going to get you there, I will disagree. A plan that's rooted in your values, supported by that evidence and that pivot of evidence that you want and it's fueled by the desire to live it out. It is fueled by the desire, the courage to make a change, to choose something different, to create the values and behaviors that will actually give the trajectory of results you're looking for. That is amazing. That's power. That's empowerment. That is how you get to that next level of you. So I hope that this was a good roundup and that you were able to take something off of this 4-part series and implement it in your life. Take it and make a change, even if it's just one, because that one behavior change will create the results in the future, one step at a time. If you have any questions and you want to reach out, please feel free to do so. That is not a blank invitation. That is truth. I really, really hope that you were able to take this series and kind of pivot on what you look at money and how you reflect on your money in a different way. Until next time.